On the 411 yesterday, we told you the House voted to limit the president's ability to strike back at Iran. But can members actually stop the president from ordering attacks? Well, James got a hold of us to ask us to verify this. And his question is this: if the House passes a referendum to limit the president's ability to respond to aggression, it means nothing unless it also is passed by the Senate, and it must pass by 2/3. All right, let's break this down. Our source here is a 1983 U.S. Supreme Court decision that ruled it is unconstitutional for Congress to overrule the president with a simple majority vote. So let's look at what the House passed yesterday. Democrats wrote it as something called a concurrent resolution, which means it does not require the president's signature, but it also means it's considered non-binding because of that Supreme Court decision, which means the president can simply ignore it. As for James's question about a 2/3 vote in the Senate, that would be the case if this were written as a joint resolution that does carry the rule of law. A 2/3 vote from the House and the Senate would then make it veto-proof for the president. So we can verify, yes, yesterday's House vote to limit the president's ability to retaliate against Iran is largely symbolic. President Trump can simply ignore it. If you ever have a question or you see something going around on Facebook, maybe you can send it to our Verify team and we will look into it for you.